is create public confidence and create business confidence as well. So I really truly believe that that's the #1 issue out there in this economy right now. And a lot of those problems are federal issues that we're thinking about, the new health care insurance and federal government spending, and then some of them are state issues, the state deficit. So a lot of the concerns that businesses and consumers have is not just local government. But remember, Julie, it is local government that implements many of these federal and state programs as they come down through the system and get implemented where they're at local government level. So it is local government that does have a lot of responsibility in creating consumer and public confidence in government. And so lowering that income tax rate will not only put money immediately into people's paychecks, additional money that can be spent in the community, but it'll also start that level of confidence again. And then I talked about the idea of guaranteeing a property tax rebate. Many people have seen their property taxes just go up, 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 up every year now for consistently for the last 4 years. Consistently, every year for the last 4 years it's been increasing. So they are believing right now today that next year it's going to go up again. Mm-hmm. So they are frightful of that. So by putting in place a guaranteed property tax refund for next year, they can know today, tomorrow, that property taxes in July are not going to go up as well. So again, it's back to the confidence level. I also believe that that we have to be mindful of Pax River and the enormous economic opportunity that this community is given because of Pax River. And we have to leverage that. We have to make sure that this is a good place for Pax River to do business. We have to make sure that we have the housing that's needed for their recruitment efforts into this community. We have to make sure that we have the types of housing that the people that they're recruiting into this area, the type of living environments, the type of lifestyles that these folks enjoy and want to have if they come here to work here. So creating and making sure that we have those amenities here in St. Mary's County is absolutely critical to not just our major employer Pax River, but to all the contractors that support Pax River, and even to our small businesses locally as well. Being a good place for business to do business is absolutely critical to promoting a good economy.
Another important aspect in people wanting to move down here is education. During your previous term as Commissioner President, you took the lead in restructuring how education is funded and prioritized in St. Mary's County. Many people believe that the success we see today in the public schools can be traced back to the Bridge to Excellence funding agreement that you put in place. Can you discuss how that agreement changed education and where we're headed today?
Yes, Julie, that was probably one of the highlights of our 4 years in office. And prior to that, the funding of education had always been a highly debated issue when it came budget time in St. Mary's County. I remember pickets at the budget hearings and so forth. And when I took office back in 2002, St. Mary's County had the second lowest funding per pupil of any county, any one of the 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. We were the second lowest. Only Howard County had a funding level that was lower. And part of the problem dated way back. I mean, before 1945, before Pax River came here, St. Mary's County was the most uneducated, lowest earning county in the state of Maryland. We really were. We were an agricultural seafood community. And education really wasn't as important to St. Mary's County as it was to many other places in the state of Maryland back then. Then the Navy came, and a lot of things changed for the better for St. Mary's County. But so there was a long history of poor education funding in St. Mary's County. We put together a 5-year agreement that said, we're going to bring St. Mary's County up in terms of funding levels. We're going to bring us somewhere in the middle of the pack. And that's where we should be, because size-wise, we're in the middle of the pack. And income level-wise, we're sort of in the middle of the pack. So that's where we should be, somewhere around 15th or 16th. And maybe we can be #1 in terms of our performance if we're around 15th or 16th. But it's hard to be #1 in performance when you're 23rd out of 24th in terms of funding. So the goal was to bring us up, but the goal was also to have accountability for how that money was going to be spent, and to make sure that they were coming forward each year with the school system's report card showing that they were successfully improving education in St. Mary's County. I remember other commissioners said, how are we going to do it? I said, we're going to do it because we're going to by funding education first. And we made dramatic increases in funding in education in that 4 years. At the same time, we were cutting property taxes, reducing the size of the rest of county government. We were focusing our resources in education and public safety. So we had great success. We put together a 5-year funding agreement that moved St. Mary's County up the ladder, and we were on the road to really becoming one of the better funding school systems in the state of Maryland. In fact, during that 4-year period, teachers' salaries, instructional salaries, which is salaries for teachers in the classrooms, rose 38% in my 4 years. We were having a significant problem with teachers leaving St. Mary's County and going over to Calvert. And of course, when they recruited from Calvert, they would always recruit our best teachers. So in order to maintain our best teachers and in order to get the highly qualified teachers that we needed for our school system, it was absolutely critical that we improve our salaries for our teachers, and we did that. But I will tell you, over the last 4 years, we've dropped back. We have now fallen back to where we are now the worst funded school system in the state of Maryland. Our increase in education, while property taxes have gone up 55% in the last 4 years, education has increased 10% in the last 4 years. It just doesn't make sense, and we've dropped back down. And again, I say to you, we can be the best if we have reasonable funding, but we'll never maintain being the best if we're the worst funded. So we've got to come back around. We've got to put in place a new agreement that provides accountability for, and also provides the proper level of funding for our school system. I don't think there's anything more important than education for St. Mary's County.
Tommy, you've lived your entire life here in St. Mary's County. For many who live here, protecting the character and quality of life in this community is extremely important. Can you discuss your thoughts on how we can preserve the character of this community for generations to come?
You're right, Julie. It is absolutely critical. At the same time that we need to be a good place for Pax River and our businesses to do business and be able to grow, we also need to be conscious of the community surrounding, and how do we maintain our farms, how do we maintain our rivers, our waterways. These are critical issues for any community, and it's even more critical for our community because of the level of growth, because of the importance of Pax River and them being able to grow. So we have to do that. One of the things we have to do is, and we did this 4 years ago, and we need to do more of it. We need to take a look at agriculture, and we need to look at agriculture and say agriculture is a business. It's a business. Those farms, those family farms, those families that are farming on those farms, they're running a business. And in order to run a business, you have to have a product to sell. It has to be profitable. They have to have a profitable business. So what we did when I was in office before, we looked at a couple of things to help the agriculture industry actually have profitable businesses. And one was we supported a produce auction house in Loveville. And we didn't do a lot to support it. We kind of put in place the zoning, we put in place the concept, and we were able to recruit some of our Mennonite community in order to take that and run with it, and they've done a great job with it. And now we have in Loveville, we have an auction house where farmers can bring their products. You see, tobacco was of course our cash crop here in St. Mary's County in Southern Maryland. And when the state of Maryland did away with tobacco, farmers were left with nothing that was profitable, nothing that they could replace tobacco with reasonably. And one of the things about tobacco was there was a system for it. Everybody sort of grew the same product, they packaged it the same way, they took it to the same market, and there was a mass of it at market so the buyers could come and buy it, so they knew where to sell it and how to sell it. It was all a system, and everybody knew how to operate within the system. Well, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, we never had a system in St. Mary's County. So this warehouse, this auction house, created the system. It created the packaging system, the grading system, all of the things that buyers need when they're going to buy produce. And by buyers, I mean large-scale buyers. I mean supermarket chains. I mean produce warehouses, what they need in order to be able to come into St. Mary's County and buy our cucumbers, buy our cantaloupes, buy our tomatoes. They needed a system, our farmers did, where they could take it, package it correctly, grade it correctly, and get it to a central location where the buyers could come and buy. And I got to tell you, that auction house is doing phenomenal today. The other thing we did, we created a winery in Leonardtown. We worked with Leonardtown to create this commercial winery, and the idea there was that we would create a cooperative of grape growers, and that cooperative would be a group of farmers and landowners in the community who would grow grapes on their property, and they would be members of this cooperative, and then they could take those grapes to this winery and be able to be guaranteed that this winery was going to buy their product. Mm-hmm. And not only was there a place where they could take their product once they grow it and be sure that they're going to get a reasonable amount of money for it, but then the best part of this is that they own part of the winery itself. So when the grape is then produced into wine, we call this vertical integration, vertically integrating you or your business or your company into the system. And so that you benefit not just from one end of the system or one part of the system, but you benefit as the product goes through the system. And that's what the Grape Growers Cooperative created, was an opportunity for our farmers, our growers, to benefit as the grapes were produced into wine and the wine is sold. Ultimately, they will benefit from that wine, the profits off of those bottles of wine. So those are the kind of things that we have to do more of in St. Mary's County to protect agriculture. It's not just taking taxpayers' dollars and giving it to landowners so that their land doesn't get developed. I mean, we have to make uses of that property the way it was designed to be used to protect the character of this community. And as former commissioner for the Critical Areas Commission, we have to do more in terms of our stormwater management of our older complexes, our older facilities. And we need to do that with some regionalization of stormwater management ponds, not by going into the old property that wants to redevelop and saying you can't redevelop that property because you have to create this new stormwater management program that's going to take half of the property away from you. We have to go off-site and create stormwater management ponds and systems that are downstream from where that property is, because there's 50% of our runoff problem is in older properties. So we have to really do a lot about that. But more importantly, and I know I'm going on a little too long here, but more importantly is we have to tell the state of Maryland, we have to tell the state of Maryland that they have to get serious. They have to get serious about the real problems with our waterways and our bay. And that is the wastewater treatment plants that are outside of our area, that are in Pennsylvania, that are in Delaware, that are in Washington, D.C., that are in other parts of Maryland, that are really the pollutant problem for us down here. That's the real problem. And the state of Maryland and the federal government, they have to get serious about cleaning up these wastewater treatment plants. If they don't get serious about doing it, if they don't get the job done, there is no way that you're going to clean up the bay on the backs of property owners in St. Mary's County. It just can't happen. So I'm really, really going to push hard our new governor and our Congress, our congressmen and our senators to really start doing something about this problem.
Thank you, Tommy, for your very candid answers to the questions I know a lot of voters have. That's all the time we have today. Again, this is a former Commissioner President Tommy McKay, and now candidate for Commissioner President. We thank you again for joining us here. We hope you have found this discussion helpful in your decision-making process as we approach the very important November 2nd voting day.